Grandma's heartbreaking journey of pain and triumph. You will believe her secret. Martha stood at the edge of the cliff, the salty wind whipping her hair into a frenzy. The sea roared below, crashing against the rocky shore, reflecting the turmoil in her heart. Her daughter, Lucy, was gone, just like that. One moment full of laughter, the next, an empty chair at the dining table. The news traveled through the quiet seaside town like a storm, whispered amidst the crashing waves and rustling trees. She was lost in her own grief, but memories began to flood in. Memories she had buried deep in the garden of her mind, wrapped in layers of shame and betrayal. Decades ago, a fracture sliced through their family like a jagged knife. Her best friend's betrayal still echoed in Martha's heart. It felt as fresh now as it did then, a wound that never truly healed. What town folks didn't know was how closely woven their lives had become in that tragic tale. They whispered about it in the grocery store, at the diner, behind faded curtains in houses she'd passed 1,000 times. Her daughter's death now opened old wounds, stitching together secrets long kept in silence. In the stillness of her home, the clocks ticked louder than ever. The ticking echoed like a heartbeat, reminding her of time slipping through her fingers. As she poured a cup of tea, the faint scent of jasmine filled the air, triggering a memory of Lucy's laughter floating across the garden. But it wasn't just the loss that made her shiver. It was the way Lucy had never known the real story, the how and why of their family's downfall. Could the truth now come to light? Suddenly, a knock broke the silence, sending her heart racing. She opened the door to find Alice, the local historian. Her presence did little to calm Martha's nerves. There were rumors swirling about Alice, ones that made people draw their curtains tighter, with an unsettling glint in her eye. Alice stepped in, offering a greeting that felt like a thin veneer over something far deeper. "I came to talk about Lucy and your past," she said, her voice low and conspiratorial. Martha felt the air thicken, the walls closing in. What do? You know? Martha's voice trembled, caught between fear and anger. "More than you think," Alice whispered, leaning closer. "Your secrets have a way of surfacing when you least expect it. Maybe it's time to let them breathe." As Martha processed Alice's words, a chill raced down her spine. The burden of truth hovered like a storm cloud, ready to unleash chaos. She longed to protect Lucy's memory, but that memory was intertwined with the dark threads of the past. Could she risk uncovering the truth at the cost of her family's fragile peace? The door creaked open wider, and Martha considered her next move. The weight of her story pushed down heavily, yet hope flickered faintly in the shadows. What could happen if she unraveled the tightly wound yarn of secrets? Would it bring freedom, or would it destroy everything she held dear? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Martha considered Alice's words, her heart pounding. She had always known secrets could crush families, but now they seemed to dance sinisterly around her. She opened her mouth to respond, when suddenly a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. "Did you hear that?" Martha spun around, fear creeping up her spine. Alice's eyes widened, reflecting a mix of curiosity and unease. "I think you should check," she said, her voice barely a whisper. With trembling hands, Martha moved toward the sound. Each step felt heavier, the air thick and suffocating. She had to know what was happening. As she pushed through the doorway, her heart dropped. The kitchen table lay overturned, shattered china scattered like confetti on the floor. But it wasn't just a mess. Amidst the wreckage lay a photograph. One Martha recognized instantly. It was a faded snapshot of Lucy, laughing and bright, yet there was something else, a shadow standing behind her, a figure she never noticed before. In that moment, everything shifted. Martha bent to pick it up, but a flash of movement from the corner of her eye caught her attention. It was Alice, approaching slowly, her expression shifting from concern to something almost predatory. Martha's gut churned. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, her voice sharper than before. "You're close to figuring it out, aren't you?" Alice's voice dripped with a confidence that unsettled Martha. "That photograph, it holds more than just memories." "What are you talking about?" Martha felt the world tilt slightly, an unsettling feeling brewing in her belly. "The truth doesn't always stay buried, Martha. It festers, waiting for the right moment, like now." Alice took a step forward. "Do you remember the boy who went missing years ago? The one everyone whispered about?" Martha froze, the air growing colder around her. She remembered. Jason, the town's golden boy, disappeared without a trace. Rumors had flowed like water in summer, but she pushed them away, buried them with her past. "What does Jason have to do with Lucy?" She whispered, dread settling over her like a heavy blanket. "Everything and nothing. They're both part of a much darker story than you realized." Just then, there was another noise, a howling wind whipping through the open window, sending papers fluttering across the kitchen. The chaos clung to the air like a storm about to break. Martha's mind raced. "You need to decide, Martha. Are you ready to face your family's secrets, or will you let them swallow you whole?" Alice's words hung heavily between them, but before Martha could answer, there was a loud bang from the living room. The door slammed open, and in rushed a figure cloaked in shadows. "Mom!" It was Ben, her son, his face pale and eyes wide with terror. "You need to see this. It's about Lucy." Martha felt her heart leap, then crash. Ben could expose everything or destroy it all. "What is it, Ben?" His voice trembled as he gestured wildly toward the door. "It's found. There's something you need to see." Martha's heartbeat quickened. Could it be related to the photograph? Had the truth finally come to claim its place? The weight of her family's secrets began to press down like an anvil. With breathless urgency, she followed him, glancing back at Alice, whose knowing smile deepened and chilled her to the bone. "Every truth has its price, Martha," Alice called out, her voice trailing after her like a dark shadow. What had she gotten herself into? As she stepped out, the chill of the night air hit her, revealing everything she had hoped to avoid. Would the truth set her free, or would it shatter what was left of her life? Martha followed Ben out into the cold night air, her pulse hammering in her ears. Shadows loomed as they rushed towards the backyard. The moon barely lit their way, casting a ghostly glow on the tangled weeds and forgotten garden tools. Ben's face was pale, but determination clenched his jaw. "What is it?" she gasped, struggling to keep up. The knot in her stomach tightened. "Just over here." He skidded to a stop near a clearing in the garden. Beneath a gnarled old tree, something shimmered in the moonlight. Martha squinted and felt a chill creep up her spine. "It's a box." Ben knelt. Brushing dirt and leaves aside, she stepped closer, her heart racing. The box looked old, dinged and weathered, just like the shadows holding her past. Before she could say a word, Ben yanked it open. Inside lay a collection of letters, yellowed with age, tied with fraying twine. They emanated a strange energy, as if they were holding secrets more potent than their fragile paper. "What does it say?" Martha's voice was barely a whisper, a lump forming in her throat. "I don't know." Ben's hands trembled as he lifted one letter. "But they're all addressed to you, from Dad." Her breath hitched. "My dad?" Confusion flooded her veins. She had buried her father's memory years ago, right alongside the secrets of her past. "But why?" "I don't know, Mom." "But it's like they're begging to be read." The wind howled, whispering threats through the branches above them. The world around her felt like it was collapsing, an ancient weight pressing on her chest. She reached for one of the letters, trembling fingers, brushing the brittle paper. Opening it felt like touching a live wire. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the ground shifted. An ominous rumble echoed from beneath them. Martha barely had time to register the horror as a fissure split open at their feet. Dust and debris erupted around them like a geyser. "Ben!" she cried, scrambling to grab his wrist. But he stumbled back, horror etched across his face as the earth began to swallow the box whole. "Mom, one!" he screamed, terror igniting his voice. But she couldn't move. Her gaze locked on the box disappearing into the dark void. The air felt electric with panic. From that churning darkness, she heard a voice rip through the chaos. A deep, familiar tone she hadn't heard in years. "Martha, you have to know the truth." Her heart dropped. It wasn't just in her mind. That voice, it belonged to her father. "Get out of here!" Ben lunged at her, but the ground continued to quake. As the box slipped completely from view, the voice faded into an echo, swallowed by the night. "What?" Martha stumbled back, shaking her head, struggling to comprehend. "Mom!" Ben pulled her back to reality, panting. "You need to tell me everything. What did he mean by the truth?" But before she could answer, a figure emerged from the shadows, the unmistakable outline of Alice. The same unsettling glint in her eye now burned bright. "Looks like secrets are bubbling to the surface." Alice smirked. "You should have listened to me, Martha. Your past isn't done with you yet." Martha's heart raced as her world tilted once more. The very fabric of her family was unraveling, and now it felt like the foundation of her existence was on the brink of collapse. "Let's go back inside," Ben urged, his voice urgent. "We need to figure this out." But Alice stepped toward them, an almost predatory glimmer dancing in her gaze. "Oh dear. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to uncover, especially about Lucy." The cold night air pressed around them, thick with uncertainty. Martha felt the earth shift beneath her feet, and a chilling realization swept through her. Whatever she uncovered now could shatter not only her family, but reshape everything she believed about herself. "Truth?" Ben pleaded, his eyes wide with fear and desperation. Martha's heart raced as she faced the twisted web of lies. She had thought she was protecting her family, but now the dangerous game of secrets had spiraled out of control. Would she dare to unravel it all, or was she too late to save them? Martha's heart pounded like a war drum. The shadows seemed to close in, tightening around her as she grasped the letter in her hand. The chaos of the quake still stung at her heart, but Alice's smirk and that final warning gnawed at her insides. Pressing her eyes shut for a moment, she searched for clarity in the storm of fear. "Ben! Mom, we have to go!" Ben's voice cracked with urgency, pulling her back to the moment. He was still gripping her wrist, a lifeline, pulling her away from the abyss. But then, as if the night itself was watching, a blinding light erupted from the direction of the old tree, casting long shadows that danced like specters across the yard. Martha squinted against it, too stunned to move. "What is that?" she murmured, her pulse quickening. Just as the brilliance brightened, it suddenly extinguished, and in its place, something else emerged from the depths. A figure, tall and imposing, cloaked in darkness. The air turned icy, electrified by an unspoken dread. "Let her go," came a voice, deep, resonant, and chillingly familiar. It was not Alice. Martha's knees buckled as recognition struck like lightning. "Dad?" The word escaped. Her lips in a breathless gasp, disbelief coursing through her. Ben looked between Martha and the shadow with wide eyes. "What's happening? Who is this?" I don't know," she stammered, her heart pounding furiously at a truth hovering like a ghost just out of reach. "Your father is not who you think he is," Alice chimed in, her excitement bubbling over. "You're not ready for this, Martha. But maybe your son is. Maybe he should hear it first." Her unjust delight twisted a knife in Martha's gut. "Martha, listen to me!" The figure stepped closer, the moonlight revealing familiar features. Eyes that mirrored her own, but held a weight she'd never seen before. "You must understand the whole truth. It's time for the secrets to break the surface." "What truths? What secrets?" Ben's voice wavered, arms trembling at his sides. "Mom, tell me what's going on." Ignoring Alice's pleasure at the chaos unfolding, Martha felt her world teeter. "Dad, you died, didn't you?" "You need to know I didn't die, Martha. A sudden crash interrupted the moment. The old tree, once a harmless sentinel, splintered, its roots shifting like restless spirits. With a thunderous crack, it buckled, sending debris flying. "Run!" Martha shouted, grabbing Ben and yanking him back just as the looming branches broke free and crashed down, narrowly missing them. But in the chaos, Alice lunged forward, snatching the open box. "No!" Martha screamed, horror clawing at her. Alice lifted the letters high, a wicked grin stretching across her face. "You think knowing the truth will set you free? Truth has a way of binding people more tightly than secrets ever could." Before she could respond, the shadows around them deepened again. The air buzzed with energy, swirling like a tempest ready to unleash its fury. "Dad!" Martha shouted, panic breaking through her voice. "What do we do?" But he only stood there, lips pressed tight, bearing the burden of knowledge she couldn't fathom. The flickering shadows swarmed as the wind howled. Reality seemed to wobble like an unstable house of cards. Then, just as quickly, the shadows swept back, and the figure dissolved into the thick night, leaving nothing but a cold breeze in its wake. The box, alongside Alice, was gone. "What just happened?" Ben breathed, shaking uncontrollably. "Martha." He stared at her, desperation etched in every line of his face. The world around them felt uncertain, like a bridge ready to crack beneath their feet. "What if he's alive?" Martha whispered, fear mingling with hope. "What if everything we thought we knew is a lie?" As the night deepened, Martha realized that this storm was just beginning. Something was brewing, and the truth was not only haunting her, but pulling Ben into its dark embrace. Would she have the strength to face whatever lay ahead? Would this night reveal more than just family secrets, or had they only scratched the surface of a much deeper horror? Finding her voice, she glanced at Ben, ready to dive into whatever darkness awaited. "We need to find Alice, because whatever she was hiding had to be unveiled, and it might just shatter everything." Martha and Ben stood in the wreckage of their backyard, the night still crackling with tension. The air felt heavy, almost electric, as they exchanged glances. "We need to find Alice," she said, determination etching lines on her face. But beneath that resolve, doubt slithered through her mind. What if Alice had taken something more than just the box? "Mom, wait!" Ben's voice trembled, dragging her back from the edge of her thoughts. The fear in his eyes twisted her heart. Just then, a flicker of light caught Martha's attention, a dim glow swelling like a heartbeat in the corner of the garden. "What's that?" she asked, stepping closer. Light pulsed, casting a haunting glow that seemed to breathe in the dark. "I don't know, but it looks wrong," Ben replied, backing away slightly, the shadows playing tricks on his young face. As they moved cautiously, the pulse of light intensified. "Let's see," Martha whispered, her curiosity pulling her forward. The light shifted, and for a heartbeat, it felt like it was alive, like it held a truth of its own. Just then, as they reached the source, the ground beneath them trembled, and a sharp crack echoed. A fissure opened, this one not just in the earth, but in their reality. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the glow. It wasn't Alice, another woman, a stranger whose features were shadowed yet strikingly familiar. "Mom?" Ben's voice was a whisper now. "Who is that?" "Martha," the woman breathed, stepping into the light. "You have to listen to me. Get out of here." Her voice was urgent, sharp, like a knife slicing through the air. "Who are you?" Martha demanded, but deep down, her blood ran cold with dread. "I'm you." The words hung between them like a thunderstorm on the horizon. "I'm your future." What? Questions collided in Martha's mind. A version of herself? This couldn't be real. "What do you mean?" How is this possible?" The woman's eyes shone with a wild fire. "You're standing on the edge of everything. A choice that can change everything. The truth is buried, but it's not just your past that you need to face. It's who you become." The earth shook again, more violently this time, an earthquake of emotions and revelations. A flash of memory ripped through Martha's mind. Fragments of choices she hadn't made yet danced in chaotic clarity. "Mom!" Ben shouted, panic dawning in his voice. "We need to go!" But Martha was paralyzed, grappling with the weight of her future self's words. "Tell me how!" she cried, desperation clawing at her throat. "In a moment, it's all going to collapse, or you can leap and change it." The woman's expression softened, yet the urgency thickened the air around them. You must remember, it's not just about Lucy. It's about your path. You can't live in fear any longer. The ground beneath began to crack wider, fissures snaking like veins. Through the soil, Martha could feel the edges of her sanity fray. The pulse of anxiety threatened to swallow her whole. "Mom, please!" Ben screamed, the waves of terror contained in his voice crashing against her walls. "Everything will change if you choose to face this." The woman's voice echoed, reverberating through the chaos. "Don't let the past dictate who you are." With that, the earth lurched beneath her, and suddenly the woman flickered like a flame, flickering and fading. "Choose now!" she cried, one last plea slicing through the darkness. In that moment, Martha felt the threads of her life unravel further. A chaotic storm swirled around them, echoing with shouts and memories. "Mom, what's happening?" Ben's voice was desperate, a lifeline reaching toward her amidst the tempest. The light vanished, the glow extinguishing in an instant, and the garden fell into darkness once more. Martha realized the truth wouldn't just come back. It had reared its head, and the choices ahead could rip them apart or bind them together in ways she couldn't yet understand. As the ground shifted underfoot, she took a deep breath, figuring out how to answer his question. "I don't know," but deep down, she sensed that everything she had taken for granted, the love, the despair, the truths, was teetering on the brink. "Mom?" Ben's voice was small. "Yes. Can we just go home?" Martha looked around, knowing this was not just about getting home. They were trapped between the past and an uncertain future. She shivered as an unsettling question struck her like a blow. What if the choices she faced were worse than the secrets she'd tried to bury? Would she risk it all to uncover the truth, or would they spiral into a darkness together? The weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on her shoulders. Something was coming, and she had to be ready to face it, whatever it might be. Martha and Ben stood in the wreckage of their backyard, the night still crackling with tension. The air felt heavy, almost electric, as they exchanged glances. "We need to find Alice," she said, determination etching lines on her face. But beneath that resolve, doubt slithered through her mind. What if Alice had taken something more than just the box? "Mom, wait." Ben's voice trembled, dragging her back from the edge of her thoughts. The fear in his eyes twisted her heart. Just then, a flicker of light caught Martha's attention, a dim glow swelling like a heartbeat in the corner of the garden. "What's that?" she asked, stepping closer. The light pulsed, casting a haunting glow that seemed to breathe in the dark. "I don't know, but it looks wrong," Ben replied, backing away slightly, the shadows playing tricks on his young face. As they moved cautiously, the pulse of light intensified. "Let's see," Martha whispered, her curiosity pulling her forward. The light shifted, and for a heartbeat, it felt like it was alive, like it held a truth of its own. Just as they reached the source, the ground beneath them trembled, and a sharp crack echoed. A fissure opened, this one not just in the earth, but in their reality. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the glow. It wasn't Alice. It was another woman, a stranger whose features were shadowed yet strikingly familiar. "Mom?" Ben's voice was a whisper now. "Who is that?" "Martha," the woman breathed, stepping into the light. "You have to listen to me. Get out of here." Her voice was urgent, sharp like a knife slicing through the air. "Who are you?" Martha demanded. but deep down her blood ran cold with dread. "I'm you!" The words hung between them like a thunderstorm on the horizon. "I'm your future." What? Questions collided in Martha's mind. A version of herself? This couldn't be real. "What do you mean? How is this possible?" The woman's eyes shone with a wild fire. "You're standing on the edge of everything. A choice that can change everything. The truth is buried, but it's not just your past that you need to face. It's who you become." The earth shook again, more violently this time. An earthquake of emotions and revelations. A flash of memory ripped through Martha's mind. Fragments of choices she hadn't made yet danced in chaotic clarity. "Mom," Ben shouted, panic dawning in his voice. "We need to go!" But Martha was paralyzed, grappling with the weight of her future self's words. "Tell me how," she cried, desperation clawing at her throat. "In a moment, it's all going to collapse, or you can leap and change it." The woman's expression softened, yet the urgency thickened the air around them. "You must remember, it's not just about Lucy. It's about your path. You can't live in fear any longer." The ground shifted underfoot, and Martha felt her heart racing with an adrenaline surge. The name Lucy echoed in her mind, her daughter's voice, laughing, bright. She clung to that memory, thinking perhaps it was the key to everything. "Mom, please." Ben's voice was small now, a tether pulling her back to reality. Just then, without warning, the shadows around them shifted, swirling like an angry whirlwind, and a blood-curdling scream pierced the air. Martha turned, eyes wide, as she saw Alice burst from the darkness, her hair flying wild as though she'd been pulled through a storm. "Stop! You can't do this!" Alice screamed, lunging for the woman, but the future Martha started to flicker, edges dissolving like smoke. "Listen to me," the future Martha shouted, desperation in her voice. "You're not safe here. It's all connected." Abruptly, Alice pulled out a knife, its blade glinting chillingly in the moonlight. "You don't belong here. You're just a mistake." In that split second, everything exploded. A blinding light erupted as the future Martha shrieked in anguish, and the ground buckled beneath them once again. Ben gripped Martha's hand tightly, fear transforming his face. "Mom, what's happening?" As the ground beneath them considered splitting apart entirely, the air thickened with tension, and with a deafening blast, a whirlwind of colors and sounds enveloped them. Everything went black. When the darkness cleared, they found themselves in a different place, a room filled with familiar pieces from their lives. Photographs lined one wall, stills of Martha and Lucy. But they were wrong. They didn't show just happy memories. They showed things she couldn't remember, events that had never happened. "Where are we?" Ben's voice trembled, glancing around. Martha felt her stomach drop. "This was our old home," she whispered, recognition flooding her senses. But something was off. And then she saw it. A portrait on the wall that she'd never noticed before. It looked like a family who had lived there long ago, but their faces were eerily familiar. "Martha," a voice murmured from behind. She spun around, blood turning to ice. It was her father. But it wasn't the father she remembered. This man looked younger, his eyes dancing with a mix of mischief and madness. "You've come home!" The weight of truth crashed around her, and the world spun as she realized. What if she hadn't just lost Lucy? What if everything she thought she knew was a lie? "Mom, what's happening?" Ben's voice trembled, panic rising in his chest. A room began to pulse, the walls seeming to breathe in and out, closing in on them. "Do you see now?" Her father's voice echoed. "You've always been part of this." Terror washed over her as she realized the horrifying truth. They were trapped in a family story, twisted beyond recognition. The only way out was to confront whatever darkness had brought them here. What had they uncovered? What lay ahead in this nightmarish circle of life? Martha's pulse raced. Time was running out. She had to decide, would they fight through the darkness or succumb to the chilling secrets threatening to drown them whole? Martha and Ben stood frozen in the shifting shadows. Her father's eyes, once comforting, now held a storm of secrets that made her chest tighten. "You've come home," he said again, and it felt like a trap hidden in an embrace. "Where are we?" Ben's voice quaked, pulling Martha back to the moment. Confusion clouded her thoughts as she scanned the eerie familiarity of their old home. Every photograph, every trinket, felt like a mirror reflecting a life she thought was behind her. "It's a mistake, Ben," Martha pleaded, panic rising. "We need to leave." But her feet felt glued to the ground, and the fear gripped her throat like a vice. And then, without warning, a window shattered, sending glass raining down like tiny stars. A gust of wind swept through the room, and with it came a chilling laugh, a familiar laugh. "Isn't it beautiful?" Alice emerged from the shadows, her grin sharp and wide, eyes glimmering with madness. "This is where it all began, isn't it? The secrets, the lies, the family." "Get away from us!" Ben shouted, stepping protectively in front of his mother. "What do you want?" Alice glanced at Ben, amusement dancing in her eyes. "Oh, sweet boy, you are deeper in this than you know. But your mother, she has always wanted to escape it, to run away from the truth." Martha felt a rush of anger mixed with betrayal. "You're wrong! I just want to protect him." "Protect him?" Alice scoffed, stepping closer. "From what? The truth? You think you can do that forever?" Her laugh echoed like thunder, filling the room with an uneasy vibrancy. "Stop it!" Ben cried out, frustration spilling over. "We're not afraid of you." As if to challenge him, the ground beneath them shuddered again. The walls seemed to pulse, and suddenly the air thickened with an oppressive energy. A crack grew wider, splitting further down the center of the room. "Enough!" Martha shouted, gathering her wits despite the chaos swirling around them. It was time to confront the storm brewing inside her heart. "What do you know about Lucy?" Alice smirked, the shadows around her shifting like warped reflections. "Lucy? My dear, it's not about what I know. It's what you've buried deep, far deeper than you imagined." She leaned in closer, a conspiratorial whisper curling around them. "You loved her too much to face the truth, didn't you?" Martha felt a surge of rage. Shocking twist. Ben cried out in agony, clutching his head as if struck by thunder. "Mom, it hurts!" Fear splintered through Martha. "Ben, listen to me!" His eyes were wide, terror-stricken. "I can see! I see everything! It's all connected! Lucy, it was me. What do you mean?" Her heart pounded wildly. "No, Ben, don't!" Alice's voice sliced through the air like a knife. "You don't?" But the energy swirling around them shifted again. In an instant, Ben gasped, and his expression morphed from fear to something unnervingly calm. "I didn't mean to hurt her." "Ben?" Martha's heart raced as she realized. This was a different voice, a different presence entirely. The air crackled around them, and Alice stepped back, her amusement replaced with a cold glare. You're revealing too much too soon, child. Suddenly, Martha understood. What if Ben had seen something? Memory, truth, a past woven into the very fabric of who they were. Ben, tell me. Mom, he whispered, his voice trembling. I was there. I was there the night Lucy. A deafening silence fell. What? Martha breathed, terror sinking inside her. The room felt like it was spinning. You were where? What do you mean? But before Ben could respond, a blinding light erupted from his hands, enveloping them all, consuming everything in an explosion of brightness. A truth that felt like it would shatter reality itself. And just as quickly, everything snapped back to black. The echoes of Alice's laughter still rattling through the night, leaving. Martha and Ben teetering on the edge of a revelation that could unravel their very existence. Mom? Ben's voice was small, echoed in uncertainty. What did I just remember? As they stood engulfed in darkness, Martha knew the shadows were alive with secrets, pulsating, breathing, waiting to be unleashed. Would she be ready when the truth finally crashed in? Would Ben remember everything, or would it change them forever? Martha and Ben stood engulfed in darkness, the echoes of Alice's laughter still hanging thick in the air. Confusion swirled around them like a fog, heavy and suffocating. Mom? Ben's voice was small, tense. What did I just remember? Martha felt pressure in her chest, that tightness like she couldn't breathe. I don't know, sweetheart. The shadows pressed closer. The walls seemed to thrum with some dark energy, as if even the house itself was watching them, waiting. Ben stumbled back, his face pale. I'm scared, Mom. Martha reached out, placing a trembling hand on his shoulder. It's okay. We'll figure it out. We have to stick together. But before she could say anything more, a flash of light exploded in the room, blinding them. It swept over the landscape of their living room, like a tidal wave, colors blending and swirling until Martha couldn't tell what was real or what wasn't. Mom! Ben shouted, his voice swallowed by the chaos. And just as quickly as it began, the light flickered out, leaving them in near complete darkness. But now, a shape began to coalesce in the corner, a presence looming large. Martha. The voice was soft, but it felt familiar, like a half-remembered song. Dad? She whispered, her heart racing. Then, like a camera zooming in, she saw him clearly, her father, standing just a few feet away, aged, yet unchanged, hauntingly beautiful. But there was something wrong, something not quite right in those knowing eyes. How is this possible? She breathed, hardly able to take a step closer. You need to understand. My love, he began. But then his expression twisted, fear dancing behind his gaze. You shouldn't be here. This isn't safe at all. What do you mean? And then everything trembled once again. The ground shook, vibrating beneath them. You have to leave. Now, he urged, panic flaring in his voice. Martha, what's happening? Ben cried, gripping her hand harder. The room distorted, walls bending inwards like they were under water pressure. And then she felt it, a blast of energy, a wave pushing her back. Suddenly, a figure burst through the wall. Alice. What have you done? She screamed, her eyes wild. Before Martha could flinch, something shifted within Alice. You think you can change the past, Martha? Or maybe you're here to understand the reality. Her voice twisted, becoming a low growl. You're all just pawns. Martha's heart raced. Pawns? What do you mean? But as if in answer, the air crackled, and a haunting laugh filled the room, reverberating against the walls. Martha watched in disbelief as a new wave of memories flooded her mind. No, not hers. Lucy's! Lucy! Ben shouted, grasping Martha's arm tight, his face twisting in confusion. What's happening? But the memories began to unravel right before her eyes, revealing truth upon truth that shatters her world. Images burst forth. Lucy in agony, a dark room, betrayal flashing like lightning in her mind. The accident, it wasn't an accident. It was... No, Ben, I can't think about this now. And then, from the swirling chaos, she saw it. Ben standing there, twisting and morphing, the outline of a figure projected over him. She blinked. It couldn't be. What is happening to you? Her voice trembled. Then everything froze. Alice grinned, a look of triumph washing over her face. You had to find out. Martha, he is the key. All those years you raised him without knowing. Without knowing what? Martha shouted, fear knifing through her. Without knowing that he's the reason for it all. The consequence hadn't just been buried in your past. He was the source of it, the culmination of every secret. Before she could wrap her mind around it, Ben's face twisted in anguish. Mom, I don't know who I am. Martha's heart plummeted, a chasm opening beneath her. Ben, no, you're my son. But then the light surged forward once more, illuminating the faces around her. And within that blinding glow, she felt the soul of the family whispering secrets she couldn't ignore. Everything she had clung to began to unravel, and wasn't just a victim of her past. He was entwined with the darkness lurking deeper than she ever imagined. Ben, she cried out, desperate, please don't listen to her. But as the shadows wrapped around him, moving like quicksilver, Martha realized this was only the beginning. She was standing at the precipice of a truth too terrible to fathom. Would she lose Ben forever? Would she be able to uncover the reality? Or had everything she'd built been a lie? The finality hung in the air, thick with emotion, as she braced herself for whatever demon lurked beneath the surface. Nothing would ever be the same again. Nothing. Martha's heart pounded in her chest, echoing in her ears like a war drum. The reality she thought she knew hung precariously, ready to tip into chaos. Ben, we can't stay here, she called, pulling him closer, desperate to shield him from Alice and whatever darkness lay in this room. But Ben's eyes glazed over, haunted by memories not meant for him to carry. Mom, I feel everything. Martha's breath hitched, fear gripping her like a vice. What everything? What do you mean? Just as Ben opened his mouth to respond, the floor beneath them shuddered violently again, and Alice's laughter rang hollow, echoing all around. You're in too deep, Martha. It's already begun. Before she could process those words, a piercing scream ruptured from behind them. Martha turned, her gut twisting. It was as if the walls themselves were crying out. Then, through the chaos, a shadow loomed larger, taking shape in the air. A figure cloaked in darkness. Martha's eyes widened. Lucy? She whispered, her heart breaking at the thought. But instead of her daughter's familiar features, a twisted smile greeted her. It was a face she hadn't seen in years, yet one she could never forget. the face of her best friend, Sarah. "Surprise!" Sarah's voice bubbled with manic delight. "Miss me?" Martha stepped back, her pulse racing. "You? Me!" Sarah exclaimed. "You thought I was gone, but I never really left, did I?" Alice clapped her hands, delighting in the unfolding drama. "This is rich. We finally have the whole cast. The treachery, deceit, a full circle." "Why are you here?" Martha struggled to keep her voice steady. The betrayal burning in her chest. "You were supposed to be dead." "Dead?" Sarah laughed, and it was cold. "Oh, darling, I've been here all along, tucked away, observing, waiting for just the right moment to return. Did you think losing me would free you? No, it tied you to me forever." Martha clawed for strength, disbelief and fury colliding in her gut. "But Lucy, I thought you were dead because of me." The room vibrated with energy as Sarah's smile morphed, turning jagged and fierce. "Lucy, you really don't know, do you?" "Know what?" Ben's voice trembled, fear radiating from him. "Everything you believe is based on lies." Sarah leaned closer, her eyes hungry. "Lucy's death, your guilt, it's all tied to me. The truth is darker than you can imagine. What if I told you, you never truly lost me? I just found a way to wrap my hands around the strings of your life. You've always been my puppet." Suddenly, Ben gasped, his body convulsing. "Stop it! You're scaring me!" Martha reached out, instinctively protective. "No, Ben, it's not true!" But doubt twisted in her mind like a serpent. Had Sarah really come back from the dead? Was everything shifting beneath her feet? Sarah's laughter chimed like shattered glass. "Oh, sweet boy. The truth is that you never even knew your mother's part in this monstrous play." Martha's heart sank. "What are you talking about?" "Remember Jason? How he disappeared?" The words dripped with venom. "He was part of our world too. And it's time to unveil how deep the roots of deception stretch. You thought burying your past would make you whole again?" Everything froze. The weight of the past crashed around her, and the room felt like it would implode. Ben trembled next to her, confusion shrouding his features. She looked at Sarah, disbelief coursing through her veins. "This can't be real. You can't be real." But the look on Sarah's face, the certainty in her eyes, felt like poison seeping in. "Mom?" Ben whispered, sliding a hand into hers, grounding her. "What does she mean?" Tension clung to the air, thick and suffocating. "You have to tell me the truth." Martha's world spun as she stood at the precipice of revelation. Would she uncover the horrific truth about Jason, about Sarah, and how they intertwined in her life? Or would she let the moment slip away, carrying with it the remnants of her shattered family? As the shadows danced and twisted around them, all she could think was, how much more would she have to lose to find out the truth? Martha's heart thundered as she faced Sarah, the ghost of her past transformed into a nightmare. "You can't be real," she shouted, her voice cracking, desperate to hold on to the fragments of her sanity as the room spun. "Oh, but I'm very real," Sarah replied, her smile sharp, slicing through the tension. "And you're deep in the web of truth, sweet Martha. All this time you thought it was just about Lucy, but it's so much bigger than that. It's about us." Ben cowered beside her, eyes wide with fear. "Mom, what does she mean? What does this all have to do with me?" "Ben," Martha whispered, her voice raw. It's everything, Sarah interjected, advancing closer. You were always meant to piece this together. It's your fault, Martha. You should have saved her. With those words, time seemed to congeal, thickening like viscous syrup. An anguish gripped Martha's heart. I tried. I thought I was protecting you both. Her voice cracked under the weight of betrayal. Protecting? Or burying? You abandoned the truth, hiding it away, convinced it would shield you from pain. But it festers, doesn't it? Sarah's laughter echoed, a sickening. Melody. You see, Lucy's death, it wasn't an accident. It was always meant to happen. Darkness flooded Martha's vision, pulling her deep into the pit of despair. You don't know what you're talking about, she screamed, desperation clawing at her gut. I loved Lucy. Love can't change everything, Alice chirped, appearing in a flicker of shadows. You've manipulated the narrative, muddled the truth. Isn't that right, Sarah? Shut up, Martha snapped, her body instinctively bracing to protect Ben as the tension swelled. Mom! Ben cried, terror slicing through his voice. What is happening to me? Before Martha could respond, the shadows flickered and bent, a whirlwind of emotion crashing over her. Ben, listen to me, she urged, reaching for him. You are not just a part of this. We will break free. We have to face this together. With newfound power, Martha took a step forward, baring her soul. Sarah, this ends tonight. I will not let you manipulate us any longer. A brave declaration, Alice crooned, her eyes narrowing. But the past is powerful, Martha. Are you willing to confront it? Or will it swallow you whole? The room pulsed, energy crackling around them. I am done running, Martha boomed, her voice echoing with conviction. At that moment, Ben clutched his head, eyes closing tightly. I can see it, the truth, Mom, The ground shook violently, and flashes of memories assaulted Martha's senses. Bits of Lucy's laughter, mixed with images of Jason, twisting into horrific realities. No, she screamed, shoving herself against the tide of chaos. We're breaking this cycle. In a blinding flash, Martha seized Ben's hands, grounding him with her warmth. She met his terrified gaze. We are not defined by our past, Ben. We are stronger than they think. Together, Ben whispered, determination sparking in his eyes. Together. With a united force, they turned to face Sarah and Alice. You will not control us, Martha declared. An otherworldly roar filled the room as beams of light shot through the shadows, illuminating the tortured memories swirling about. The darkness recoiled, folding in on itself, and Sarah's twisted grin faltered. You think you've won? She spat, fury boiling. This is far from over. But as their laughter faded, the pulse of light broke the shackles of despair, cleansing the room. Slowly, the remnants of their past melted away, replaced by silence. As sunlight crept through the fractured walls, Martha felt an overwhelming warmth surge within her. Let's go home, she whispered to Ben, wrapping her arms tightly around him. Finally, they stepped out of the twilight into the dawn, leaving behind the echoes of betrayal and lies. We'll carry Lucy with us, Martha promised. Yes, we will, Ben replied, tears shimmering in his eyes, but a smile breaking through the pain. As they walked into the light, knowing that healing would take time, Martha felt hope blossom, like a flower breaking through the cracks, fragile yet resilient. Mom, Ben's voice broke the silence, full of quiet curiosity. What happens next? We face whatever comes together, my love, she said, holding him close. We build new memories together. And as they stepped away from the darkness, a new chapter unfolded, full of possibilities and unspoken bonds waiting to be nurtured. Now, before you go, listen closely. This is your moment to be part of something special. You have to subscribe right now. Don't wait, or you might miss the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button immediately to fuel the algorithm and support our journey together. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories. I want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Let's build this community together.